Happy 4th of July. And if you don't celebrate the 4th of July, then happy July 4th. Hey, hello everybody. Thank you for joining me today. I do truly appreciate it, and I am kind of excited. Kind of excited with a little bit of dampening, and we'll talk about why, but I'm very excited on the fact that I've got a limited edition F. Paul Wilson Repairman Jack book in the mailbox. I've been away, and I come home, book in the mail that I wasn't even expecting. This is called Quick Fixes by F. Paul Wilson, and it's the collection of his Repairman Jack short stories. And Repairman Jack is one of the characters that got me into really being what I consider myself a reader. I was reading books long before I ever read Repairman Jack, but mostly to fill time when I was bored or when I was places, with nothing to do and I just wanted to read. And I started looking for more authors to read, and I stumbled into this book club by a professional wrestler named Lance Storm. He was a wrestler in the, late 80s through the 90s, into the early 2000s. And he, on his website, he had a book club, and one of the books in his book club was a book called The Tomb, which I read, and I'm in. Whole new world opened up for me. F. Paul Wilson, Repairman Jack. I strongly recommend you read The Tomb. Phenomenal book. But anyway, F. Paul Wilson had written some short stories featuring this character from The Tomb after he'd written The Tomb. And then years later, I think 14 years later, he wrote an actual novel sequel-ish to The Tomb featuring the character and his life and stuff. Not exactly a sequel, it's just another book with the same character in his world. And after that, he was off to the races. Then you had Conspiracies and All the Rage and Hosts, The Haunted Air, on and on and on. I think 15 sequels, a bunch of sequels. And there's a lot of good Repairman Jack stuff out there from F. Paul Wilson. But probably my favorite Repairman Jack anything was a short story called A Day in the Life. I loved it. I love it. I've read it a few times over the years, and it's collected in this set. Before I open that, I want to show you this. Quick Fixes is already available in a trade softcover. For those of you who want to get some Repairman Jack on, go on Amazon or wherever you buy books, and you can buy this trade softcover Quick Fixes. I don't know who published it. Maybe it's self-published. I don't know. Maybe F. Paul Wilson self-published it. I cannot find a publisher's name on here anywhere at a glance anyway. But I think I got it on Amazon. And I'm pretty sure it's authorized because I'm pretty sure F. Paul Wilson advertised it on Facebook. And they also have a trade edition hardcover. And this one is cool. It's the library bound where the picture is printed directly on the boards. Once again, there's nobody talking about publishers' names or anything like that. But while I got this open, let's look at the table of contents for these Repairman Jack stories. Now, one of the cool things is there's a foreword where F. Paul Wilson talks about the character, the evolution, and stuff like that. Here's the table of contents, and you'll see some great ones if you've read them, some of my favorites, but they're all really good. Repairman Jack, kind of described as an urban mercenary, but essentially he's a guy that lives outside the system. He solves problems for people unofficially that they can't go to the police or to other means to get solved. He fixes them for them. Usually, and he does it for a fee. He's not a do-gooder out there, a superhero. He does it for money. But he has a moral compass and a code, and many times people have done somebody wrong. They've got no recourse. They hire Repairman Jack, and oftentimes Repairman Jack, in the process of righting the wrong, will collect his fees from the wrongdoer. So he's got a moral code, and he tries to take care of people that need to be taken care of. But ultimately, he works for money, just like I work for money. But in this here, you have, in these stories, we have a bit of an introduction to the to the stories themselves, an introduction to Repairman Jack, our character, introduction to the story itself. So it's really neat. Give some of the background. He had written some short stories, still never considering this being a character that he was ever going to write again in a novel. But he would do some fix-its, and some fix-its might include one of his early fix-its. As a kid, he had this neighbor, elderly fellow, who did a lot of hard work on his lawn, his plants, his flowers, stuff like that. Yard work, kept this place nice. And these teenagers would go through and they would destroy his yard with their vehicle. Over and over and over. He'd fix it, they'd destroy it. Finally, Jack sees this neighbor in the yard about to cry. Nothing he can do. Given up hope. Seen his hard work dashed by these jackasses. So he comes up with a plan. Talks to the neighbor, says, let me solve this problem for you. And his plan is, he goes out and he plants some of the most amazing plants, bushes and stuff like that out in the yard. But in those bushes, he puts some heavy-duty pipe obstacles in the ground. They're anchored and they're deep. There ain't no running over them. And a little time goes by, and sure enough, these punks go out to do it again. They destroy their vehicle out in the middle of the old man's yard, hitting one of these poles, and problem solved. So he fixes things like that in that sort of a way. He doesn't go track these bad guys down and beat them up and make them apologize to the old man. No, he does things more backdoor. Very creative. And F. Paul Wilson has written some very creative fix-its for Repairman Jack, if you will. And I think that's some of the stuff that I love most about the Repairman Jack books. I love those little fix-its in there. And I think that's so much why these Repairman Jack short stories are so great. Because they tend to be fix-its. Small stories encapsulated with a beginning, a middle, and an end. A resolution. Case closed. Nice short story. So I love them. I love the character. I'll say my favorite author, Walking God's Green Earth. The World's a Better Place with F. Paul Wilson in it. And definitely a better place with his work in it. Which should live on forever. Hopefully. As long as humans walk the earth. So Repairman Jack usually is using some kind of Spyderco knife in his stories. And I don't have a Spyderco. I got no problems with them. But I got a Benchmade Griptilian. And I bought this knife for my father a few years before he passed. And he carried it. It says dress knife, he called it. He carried it and he passed. And my stepmom was nice enough to let me have it. So I carry it every day with pride. And we'll use this one to open up my book. So a little bit of a mixed reaction for me, or mixed feelings, because while I love Repairman Jack and F. Paul Wilson, and I do appreciate the fact that Gauntlet Press has published a lot of great books from a lot of great authors, I don't like a lot of the things they do. And one of them is right here. We got this limited edition signed book, which I paid about $73 with shipping and all, to get delivered to me in a box that's the size of the book. No cushioning in here. There is a bag, like a newspaper bag on one end. I don't know what purpose that serves, but there's nothing to protect this book. If the box takes any dent or ding, the book is damaged, and that's the way it goes. Fortunately for me, my friendly neighborhood mail lady, as well as her contemporaries in the business, took care of me this time. They didn't beat it up. They didn't bang it up. They didn't bash it up. But here it is. It's shrink wrapped. This is Quick Fixes. Tales of Repairman Jack by F. Paul Wilson. And I reckon, that means number 14 for me. I have all of the Gauntlet Repairman Jack limited edition books. The first one printed was Conspiracies. That was the third Repairman Jack book. They went back and they did Legacies, which was the second book later on. But they never got the rights to the Tomb, so there's no The Tomb and the Gauntlet Limited. But I've got them all. I love them all. They don't match numbers because when I started collecting Repairman Jack, when I started buying these, the first one I bought was Infernal. That was I guess that'd be the 7th Repairman Jack book, was the first one I bought directly from the publisher. All the rest I had accumulated, the prior books, I had bought from eBay and stuff like that. I never bothered asking for matching numbers because I was not going to go chasing down the first few 4 or 5 that I'd already missed. Wasn't going to do it. Matching numbers wasn't really a thing that mattered to me. Still, it ain't that big of a deal to me, so I don't bother with it. But one of the things that I will note, these books come shrink wrapped, and this was a set that I had kept the ones that I had bought new shrink wrapped for a long time. I read Infernal limited edition, but I started waiting until a trade edition come out to read them. I would leave these in the shrink wrap, and so for years and years, I had a few of them that I'd never taken out of the shrink. For years, long time, 15 years, I don't know, long time. One day I decided I was taking them all out. The internet says, "Ooh, if you will die if you don't unshrink wrap your books. Bad things will happen to you. Your roof will cave in." All these things, they just say it's bad. You get foxing, humidity, whatever. And I don't know if that's true or not, but I went and unshrink wrapped all my books, and I never leave any of them shrink wrapped anymore. And this is one of the reasons why. One of the books in my set was missing the signature page. Go figure. You might have lived my whole life never knowing that. But I found out, and great enough for me. Gauntlet, Barry took care of me, hooked me up with one, said keep the one you got. Hooked me up. Luckily, he still had some of them available. I don't even remember which one it was now. I think it was one of the young Repairman Jack ones. I can't remember now. Anyway, I got them all. And these are the books that really got me into collecting limited editions. I was collecting some authors when I started collecting books, first editions, hardcovers, like David Morrell, for example, was one. But when I read The Tomb and I started paying attention to F. Paul Wilson books, I stumbled into the limited edition signed books. And from then on, that's what I wanted. But a lot of authors weren't doing that, so F. Paul Wilson was one of them. Joe Lansdale was another one that was kind of early on getting... Joe Lansdale was getting a lot of limited edition signed books, and I dig that. It makes collecting fun when you can get special stuff. So let me get this out of the shrink wrap, like I said. Open it up and show you the good, the bad, and the ugly of what I got here. And this is a part of the process that makes some people very nervous. You got this knife, and this is a sharp knife. Very sharp. Very sharp. And I'm cutting off this plastic around my book, but I got a secret, I got a trick. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to let you in on that. I got a secret for removing the plastic from the book. And my secret is this: you cut the plastic, not the book. Works every time. As long as you follow that simple rule, you'll have no trouble. But let's get this out, and we'll see some of the good, some of the bad, some of the ugly, like I say. I still buy these books. I complain anymore when I do these videos about certain things, but I'm a buyer. I can do that. And I can compare this to other publishers that get me books in my mailbox for the same price, maybe even slightly less with shipping and all, that give me far more in terms of production quality, features. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of that stuff here. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse. But anyway, hey, it's my video. But I buy them because I'm not going to go without a signed limited edition F. Paul Wilson book, no matter who publishes it. And I'm not going to go without a Repairman Jack signed limited edition book either. But here's our front dust jacket artwork. And here, that's another one of the issues that I and others take with Gauntlet Press, Borderlands Press. And this book here, the artwork to me is kind of cool. You can look and find features of things from the Repairman Jack stories. Well, let's look in here and see who is credited for this dust jacket artwork. Front cover design 2024 by Harry O. Morris. Interior page design by Dara Hoffman. But yeah, there's the dust jacket artwork. Take a good look. You be the judge on the artwork there. It does, the thing I like about it is that it does pieces of this tie in to stories that are included, which is neat. And after reading each story, you can sit here and go back and find tie-ins to these stories here. So that's cool. It's not just a stock image pulled off the internet or something like that, or out of a catalog. And Gauntlet seemingly has put effort into the artwork on F. Paul Wilson's books. There are others. There's others like Blake Crouch. A few of those books, I can't wrap my head around what went on there, what kind of effort was put in there. But this at least ties into the stories, and I can find some things to compare to from the stories. But also, let me take this dust jacket off and show you the book itself. So first, I'll stretch this out. All stretched out. There we go. There is our dust jacket and the artwork all stretched out for you. That's quick fixes. Let's take a look at the book itself. And it's, I don't know, I've heard it described as leatherette. I don't know. It kind of looks a little bit like leather. It almost feels a little bit like leather, but it is not. Foil stamping on the spine. And my corners look good. Even though it's shipped in a box with no cushioning or anything, the book itself feels pretty good. The materials I like. Now let's open it up. We got just plain as plain can be end papers. The Amazon self-printed, no publisher claims it. The end papers look about the same then as this limited edition here. Another thing, this Amazon, I guess, self-published book. Look at the binding. We have a glued binding, not a stitch in there. A glued binding. And then let's look at this signed limited edition book, $72 or so. And what do you see? The exact same glued binding, except those end bands are not colored or anything. They're just white. So, lower quality, lower production quality than even Gauntlet used to have. So let's go back. I won't even go back too awfully long. Let's go back to, we'll go back, let's go back to ground zero. Heck, I'll go to Dark at the End, the very last Repairman Jack published book. And we'll look here and we'll see a Smith sewn binding. Let's see what I can do so I can focus. A Smith sewn binding. And that book, when was this book published? Let's do a little bit of research here. This book was published when? When was it published? 2011. Gosh, time flies. Time flies. But comparing Gauntlet to Gauntlet, quality has gone down. Now they've kept pricing in check for limited edition books. $73, I think, delivered is a good price. But when we compare that to other publishers, what they're doing right now, hold that thought. Let's look at this publisher, SST Publications, and this is Stephen Graham Jones' Mongrels. First of all, check out this artwork. This artwork is fabulous. And, Francesco Gianni, fabulous, flippin' phenomenal dust jacket artwork for Stephen Graham Jones there. This book was less than $70 delivered to my house from SST Publications in England. So less money, much nicer. Look at the materials, these cloth covered boards, Smith sewn binding, 6 interior illustrations are in papers here. Let me show you, this is not an SST video, the signature page, the artwork for that, signed by Stephen Graham Jones, but chock full of illustrations. I'll just show you this, well, I'll show you one. Interior illustrations in the book, and there's 6 of them here, and I just flipped to one, and there's you go, full page interior illustration for that book. And this book delivered was less, and SST still delivering books to my house in Central Florida from Great Britain for under $73, sometimes closer to 60, depending on the dollars to pounds and all that stuff. But anyway, we're talking about Repairman Jack, and we're talking about Gauntlet Press. So I'm going to show you the signature page, which is really, I'm paying a lot more money for this than I did for this to get a signature page, really. This, I don't remember what I paid for this one, but I'll bet it was less than $20 on Amazon, 24 or less. This one here, $73 delivered. And I get a signature page in here. So far, quality I've gotten equal to or less than. I got a signature page in here, signed in person by my favorite author, Walking God's Green Earth, F. Paul Wilson. It is number 14 of 500 copies. Look at the artwork on the signature page. It's the same thing that's on that dust jacket. You saw SST had a original artwork for the signature page, plus interior illustrations, full page. High quality, thick papers. Let me flip through this book. First of all, let me show you the table of contents. Make sure it shows the same stuff. So quick fix is, it also tells handy. All the work, a lot of the other work by F. Paul Wilson. So there's a whole lot of stuff. And our table of contents, it goes to Infernal Night. I think it includes all of the same stories. Lettered only gets a Repairman Jack timeline. This is the numbered edition. And there is our table of contents. So we get the foreword by F. Paul Wilson, who is Repairman Jack. And I must say, I think the font, the text, it looks a little better. The paper does feel a little bit better than that trade edition there that I showed you. So perhaps a better reading experience, I would grant you. Although the text is small, I like the margins. I like the way it looks. A Day in the Life. I love that story. I'm gonna have to read that again. But as I flip through here, the paper's a little better than that trade edition, but it's not the thick paper you're going to get with a company like SST. No interior illustrations at all. I see none. If there are any, I'm flipping through and seeing nothing. No artwork of any kind in here. None mentioned on the cover. So Dara Hoffman did a good job of laying it out. It looks good. Dara's work, I don't know Dara, but Dara's work looks good. I do wish that somebody would have sprung for some interior illustrations, and I would like to see artwork more like what I showed you there on that SST book, but that's what we got. And all full disclosure, I buy Gauntlet books because I buy signed limited edition books. Right now, they recently have published Blake Crouch. I don't know if they'll ever publish any more Blake Crouch books or not. I don't know. And they've been publishing F. Paul Wilson since the late 90s. And again, I don't know what the future holds with that deal either anyway. But when they publish books by authors that I collect, I will be buying their books. I will also be thinking about how with other publishers I pay the same money or less and I get more. And if F. Paul Wilson, he doesn't ever call me up. F. Paul Wilson never calls me, never asks me for advice, but he asked me, hey, who should I ask to publish my next book in limited edition format? I'll say there's a guy in England named Paul Fry. Joe Lansdale knows him very well. I recommend that you get to know him too. But anyway, this was Quick Fixes by F. Paul Wilson, Gauntlet Press, and I'm glad I have it. Although I didn't really brag about it a whole lot. F. Paul Wilson has done a great work here. The author has done his part. Wrote some really good stuff that I gotta have on my shelf. My collection is not adequate if it's missing stuff like this, F. Paul Wilson signed limited editions, regardless of who's publishing them or the complaints I may have about the publisher. Anyway, with that being said, I can think of no more lies to tell. C'est la vie, baby. Doo-doo.